What's up guys, Steve E here with another video, and today I wanted to do a little video talking about the initial 10 Arcade1Up cabinets that from day one I knew I wanted to get. So I'm going to tell you guys what those 10 are. I'll let you guys know if I have any of those 10 or plan to either pick up cabinets out of those initial 10 that I wanted if they are available. I'll tell you guys if some of them aren't available and if I'm going to wait for them, or if I have already picked up a cabinet to kind of take the place of what that initial cabinet was going to be. So I feel like a lot of us that collect Arcade1Ups, when Arcade1Up came on the scene, we all had this idea of if this game or cabinet comes out, I'm going to pick it up. And I had my 10 in my head, and I have 11 cabinets now, so that's probably the most I could fit down here. But I definitely feel like I've done pretty good with trying to get those initial 10 games that I wanted. So the initial 10 that I wanted are Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Frogger, Donkey Kong, TMNT, Simpsons, X-Men, Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 2, and Daytona. So those were the initial 10 cabinets that in my mind, I'm like, I have to get these 10. So out of those 10, there's definitely quite a few that I have. So I'm blessed to have what I have. And then I'll kind of tell you guys the game plan with some of the other ones that are either out for pre-order right now that I'm thinking about getting, or if there's a certain cabinet that I picked up to kind of take the place of a certain cabinet that I know is not coming. We'll talk about that stuff. So the first one I definitely knew I wanted was Pac-Man. And since Arcade1Up came out in 2018, I've had 3 Pac-Man cabinets. So I originally got the Gen 1 Pac-Man cabinet that only had 2 games. I had Pac-Man, Pac-Man Plus. Loved that cabinet, played the hell out of it. I ended up giving it to my brother because then I got the 40th anniversary Pac-Man cabinet. That was a great cabinet as well. I love the wood grain look because I had some nostalgia for that. I ended up playing that cabinet in a hotel restaurant when I was a kid, so I had some nostalgia for that. And it had 7 solid games, 6 Pac-Man variants, and then Galaga. But then when they came out with the Bandai Namco Pac-Man cabinet, I knew that was my forever Pac-Man cabinet. It had the iconic original yellow look. It had 12 amazing Namco games, and just really fit the need of what I was looking for. So right off the bat, I had the one that I definitely knew I wanted, and Arcade1Up made that one pretty easy. I mean, every 6 months there's a new Pac-Man cab coming out. So that one was not an issue for me, and now I got my forever Pac-Man cab. So the second cabinet I wanted was my Miss Pac-Man, and that one I thought would be a little bit harder, but Arcade1Up made it happen. They figured it out. There was a bunch of licensing kerfuffles with Miss Pac-Man, and who owns it, and coin doors. If the coin door is on a Miss Pac-Man cabinet, you have to pay somebody. I don't know. It was pretty complicated, but Arcade1Up managed to figure it out, and they made it happen. So this SKU that I have, I live here in Canada. The only SKU that they had here was the one with the light up J panel that I believe they were selling on the shopping network in the States. I had Miss Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Super Pac-Man, and Pac-Mania. That one didn't really appeal to me. I ended up getting the SKU from the States that has Miss Pac-Man, Galaxian, Dig Dug, and Super Pac-Man. It didn't have the light up J panel, so I was happy about that because I just thought that thing was kind of corny. And I just love the look of the Miss Pac-Man cab. I ended up getting a kick plate decal that really completes the look. And 2 for 2 already. So that made me pretty happy. Those were 2 cabinets that I definitely knew I wanted, and Arcade1Up made it happen for me. So really happy with that. So the third game I wanted was Frogger. So this one, a little bit of a different situation. Because of whatever's going on with Konami or even Sega, because I know Sega kind of has a little bit of a hand with, Frogger when it came to coming out in the arcades. Something happened where they had to change the artwork, or Konami wanted to change the artwork, and they had to change the song in the Frogger game because of licensing purposes. So the Frogger cab that I got was not 100% what I was looking for, but it definitely fits my need because I definitely knew I wanted Frogger Cab down here. The game plays exactly the way I remember. Just, the song's different and the artwork's a little bit different. No blue marquee, which was, pretty iconic look. And then one of the things I loved as a kid was I loved the arrows on the deck. Had frogs for the four-way, arrows there, which here they just put, little triangles. It is what it is, but really happy having the Frogger Cab down here. And for me, 3 for 3. So then I mentioned that I wanted 2 specific fighting cabs in my initial 10, and that was Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat 2. And I got those. So these legacy cabs are definitely forever cabs for me as well, just like the Pac-Man Namco legacy there. So my first Arcade1Up cabinet I ever got was the Mortal Kombat 2 Gen 2. I ended up going to the States to actually pick that up because they didn't have it in Canada at the time, and I didn't know if it was coming. It did end up coming, but I guess I just got ahead of the game, 6 months ahead of the game. And I love that cabinet, but definitely prefer the Midway Legacy cabinet more. 12 solid games. I know people, kind of complained about the height and, where the marquee was, kind of cutting off the top of the screen and all that stuff. But it doesn't really give me any issues, the little wings on the side. None of those things give me issues just because of my height. I'm only 5'8", and I don't know, it works for me. Definitely happy having that cabinet. And then the Street Fighter 2 cabinet, I did have the Gen 1 Street Fighter. After that, I sold that. I ended up getting the head-to-head Black Series Street Fighter 2 cabinet. That was fun for a while, but it just took up too much space, and I didn't really play it as much as I thought I would. I definitely prefer the stand-up cabs. So when I saw they were doing a Capcom Legacy, definitely knew I wanted to pick it up. And I love the art on this one, very 90s with that 90s pattern. So yeah, really happy to have those. So already I'm 5 for 5 out of the initial 10 that I wanted. So the next cabinet I knew I wanted was the TMNT cabinet. So with TMNT, it was one of those cabinets where in my mind I was like, if they ever made that cabinet, that would make my day, because I'm a huge TMNT fan and I loved both arcade games. And that's when I knew Arcade1Up was definitely serious and definitely making, serious business moves, was when they made this one happen. Because it was one of those ones where in my mind I just was like, they're not going to make this happen. And they did, They talked to Nickelodeon, who owns the license to TMNT now, and they did it. One of my favorite cabinets that I have down here. Love the look of this cab. I ended up actually selling my first version of TMNT like an idiot, because I was trying to, figure out what I wanted down here. I was trying to play around with space and just was not thinking smart. And then 2 weeks later, I ended up buying another TMNT cab. So I fixed my mistake, but I definitely paid the price for it, literally. This cabinet's not going anywhere now unless they make a Konami 4-player Legacy cab with TMNT on it. But unless they do that, this one's here to stay. So really happy to have that. So now this is where, out of my initial 10, things have kind of changed a little bit because I just had to adapt. So I wanted the X-Men Konami 4-player / 6-player beat 'em up. But unfortunately, I do not have the room, and there's another 4-player beat 'em up I want instead. So instead of getting the X-Men one, which right now is up for pre-order for $849 plus tax here in Canada, which is a very steep price to pay, I ended up getting Marvel vs. Capcom instead to kind of really capture my Marvel need as far as having a Marvel game in the arcade. I love Marvel vs. Capcom. It's a great fighting game, a blast to play. This one has Wi-Fi, so that really makes it interesting and fun to play against, people that also have this cabinet. And it takes up less space. So even though I really wanted that X-Men cabinet, I love the art on it, I love the game, sometimes you have to make sacrifices, and this was one of them. So Marvel vs. Capcom is definitely gonna take the place of what would have been the X-Men Konami game. Maybe they might make a Marvel Legacy down the line and throw that X-Men game on there. If that's the case, I'll sell this one to get that one. But until then, this one's here to stay. So another game that I wanted was The Simpsons. So I have decided that I am going to... I got Burger Time up for sale right now because I'm trying to... just sell to make room to get that game. I have a lot of nostalgia for that game. The look of that cabinet, that blue, the light blue. We have one here in Kingston. We had like a mini place that unfortunately has closed due to COVID, but they had the Simpsons cabinet there. So, I've seen it recently, not recent, but a couple of years ago. I used to see it all the time. And that was when I was a kid. I also remember playing it, I think at Canada's Wonderland. So definitely fond memories of The Simpsons. So I am putting Burger Time up for sale to try to make room to fit The Simpsons in here. And then why I initially got Burger Time is one of my favorite 80s games. And I actually got this cabinet to kind of take the place of Donkey Kong because I wanted a Donkey Kong cabinet. But I know it's almost near impossible for that to ever happen because of the fact that Nintendo doesn't really play nice with giving people their licenses. And if they're going to do a Donkey Kong cabinet, it's Nintendo's going to do it on their own. They're not going to wait for Arcade1Up to come knocking on their door to ask to do it. They're going to do it on their own. So we'll see what happens. Maybe it might come down the line from Nintendo, but it'll probably cost an arm and a leg. If Arcade1Up does somehow make it happen, because they have made it happen before when I didn't think they would, with Miss Pac-Man, with TMNT, with The Simpsons. So anything's possible. I definitely will not count Arcade1Up out of making a Donkey Kong cabinet down the line, but the chances are pretty slim. And Burger Time was to take that spot, but like I said, I prefer The Simpsons more, and even though I love Burger Time and love the look of this cab, I literally only just play Burger Time on here. I don't play Karate Champ, barely play Caveman Ninja and Bad Dude. So sometimes you got to make some tough decisions, and this was a decision that was tough, but I want the Simpsons cabinet, and I know Donkey Kong's probably not coming, so I'm not going to keep this as a placeholder for Donkey Kong when I know the chances are very slim. So the last game out of the initial 10 that I wanted was Daytona. So I ended up getting the Outrun cabinet instead because obviously there is no Daytona as of right now. And this was their first racing cab. So I knew I wanted a racing cab down here, so I picked up this one to kind of just take that spot right now. They're doing Ridge Racer next. And honestly, I could see myself selling this to get that because my memories of playing driving games were all the 3D platformers. I was born in the late 80s, but grew up in the early 90s as far as, in the arcades and movie theaters and all that stuff. And they were all 3D platformer racing games at that time. So Ridge Racer definitely appeals to me. I want to see what the rest of the game list is going to look like. But it definitely appeals to me, and I think that would probably, if I were to pick that up, that would be my forever driving cab. Even though I love Daytona, it would be nice to wait for that. And maybe I will if I see the game list on Ridge Racer and it's not really fitting my need. But as of right now, just knowing that at least that game is a 3D platformer, it definitely appeals to me more than Outrun. I love Outrun. But I grew up playing Outrun more on Sega, more as a console game. So I don't have the connection and nostalgia to playing Outrun as an arcade the same way I do as a console game. And even with Ridge Racer, I didn't really play Ridge Racer. It was more Daytona, but again, that's the first 3D platformer they're kind of putting out there, so maybe that might fit my need, but we'll see. That's something that's up in the air, and we'll see what the game list ends up being. So yeah, so out of my initial 10 that I wanted, I definitely got the majority of what I was looking for and have options to get more of the initial 10 that I was looking for. But unfortunately, X-Men is the one that I'm not going to be able to fit down here. But, you know, hopefully I'll get the Simpsons in the mix if I do sell that Burger Time. Donkey Kong, you know, it's a dream, but we'll see what happens with that. And then as far as Daytona goes, we'll see what happens with that as well. But Ridge Racer is kind of on my I'm targeting Ridge Racer right now as probably my 3D platformer driver that I'll end up getting, but it all depends on the game list and the price. So we'll see. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to put in the comments your initial 10 or 15 games that you definitely knew you wanted, and let me know the ones that you did end up getting out of the pile, because Arcade1Up has made a lot of these hits that we wanted. So yeah, put in the comments what your initial 10 or 15 were and how many of those you have, and maybe what changes you had to make because of maybe some of those games that you did want maybe didn't come out. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you guys on the next video.